On the Gamebridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to This Week in Ball State Sports, a Ball State athletics podcast, highlighting the Cardinals athletic teams and administration each week. Presented by Gamebridge. Here's the voice of the Cardinals, your host, Mick Tidrow.
Hey, Cardinals fans, welcome into episode 13 of This Week in Ball State Sports. We have a fun show on tap for you. Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell joins. We'll talk with head coach Mike New of Ball State football. Brady Sallee of the women's basketball squad joins us as well for their 4-0 start to the young season. And Nick Traub, Ball State football radio analyst, wraps up the season with us this week. We're sitting down first with Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell. Jeff, appreciate you as always. We've got a very fun week ahead of us, don't we?
We do. Mick, thanks for having me. Can't wait.
First up, we have a fun promotional video that just came out for the University and Athletic Department partnership, a Friendsgiving skit playing off a Saturday Night Live skit from a few years ago. We were able to film it at the president's office, or the president's house at Bracken House. It's one of the coolest experiences I think I've been a part of, to be honest.
Well, it's definitely a cool experience. I hope the video is equally as cool. The president and I had a conversation after we filmed it, and we both determined that we may want to look at another alternative if, for whatever reason, our careers in athletics administration and higher education administration don't work out for us, because I don't know that we necessarily are going to win. I don't think we're going to win any Oscars, okay, for the skit.
I disagree, Jeff. I'm going to go on the other side. I think you guys did a fantastic job. President Mearns opening up the skit, laying the foundation, just an awesome opportunity to get all the coaches, administrators, and president together. We've talked about this a little bit, but with that vein, coaches, administrators, and all the way up to the top of the university president, the cohesiveness and the ability to work together and the want to work together for a promotional video for Thanksgiving weekend, that's pretty special at a university like this.
The alignment's real, Mick, and it's one of the reasons why I was attracted to come to Ball State was that alignment that begins with President Mearns and is consistent throughout all areas of the department or of the university, and in particular with athletics, of how successful that our administration wants us to be. And yes, that sometimes means that you shoot funny videos at the president's house right after lunch, on a random Tuesday or whatever that day was last week when we filmed. That's a special deal. And, for my counterparts across the country to have, they envy the fact that we have that type of alignment. And that's certainly something that we're looking for. But there's some accountability that comes with that. And I think that trickles down within the athletics department of saying, look, you've got all this support. So that means that we have to do certain things in certain ways. And it really holds us to the standard of excellence that we talk about so frequently. So, yeah, it's a fun exercise, but it's a meaningful exercise, too, where we are promoting our men's and women's basketball teams that are off to a great start, and we have a full week ahead of us at Thanksgiving with the men hosting 2 games. The women have a big game against Notre Dame on Friday, and then, of course, we've got our final football game on Saturday.
Jeff, let's run down that road of this week because you mentioned it. 4 huge home events, starting off with basketball on Tuesday, hosting USC Upstate. And then Friday, they play 2 o'clock against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Women's team hosts Notre Dame, 5 o'clock on Friday. That's a top 25 team coming to Muncie. Let's start with that one because that's a huge one that everybody's circled on the calendar before the year even started. Now the Cardinals are 4-0 on the women's side. This is one of those games that is a marquee matchup and important for the department, right?
Oh, it absolutely is, and it's high-level basketball, and certainly when you've got 2 institutions within the state of Indiana that are going at it, I think it'll be fun, particularly on the day that we're going to host this game on Friday, on Good Friday, or Black Friday, rather, and entertainment for the holiday weekend, but at the same time, it's great to feature basketball in the state of Indiana, and especially for our women's team that is playing so well right now, the opportunity to showcase our talent level and to showcase the the high level at which we're playing right now is pretty special, especially when you can play against a team like Notre Dame that is nationally ranked and playing at a high level as well.
Ball State women's basketball also knocked off 2 top 25 mid-major programs. The Cardinals sit at 6th in that ranking. So this is one of those premier in-state matchups this week. Yeah,
it really doesn't get any better. And for us to be able to host it is a neat opportunity, because that opportunity really doesn't come around often enough. But we're going to capitalize on it, and I think our team will be ready to play.
Ball State men's basketball back at home for 2 more games. Exciting for Tuesday and Friday. Weeks like this always bring the buzz and the excitement, even if it is during a break where the students are off campus during Thanksgiving break. But with the men's team back at home, that program looking to get back into the win column after the loss against Evansville. But a 3-1 start, that team is in prime position to do some damage this year.
Yeah, I think so too. And we took one on the chin on the road at Evansville over the weekend, and for our young team, that is going to happen. And so we have to now practice the punchbacks and how do we get back on the right side, and into the win column. Having a couple of home games over the holidays is helpful, and particularly in the Thanksgiving week. A lot of teams are on the road. That's sometimes stressful. For us to be playing at home, to give our fans the opportunity to see us play, it helps with the confidence of a young team. So from a scheduling standpoint, it really makes a lot of sense. So I'm grateful that we have this opportunity. But just a great opportunity for the community, too, to come in and enjoy Ball State athletics across 3 different sports. Really running the entirety of the Thanksgiving holiday.
And the game to cap it off, the Redbird rivalry, Ball State-Miami, Saturday on the gridiron. It's a noon kickoff. First noon kickoff for Ball State this season. Wraps up the 6 home Saturdays on the gridiron. That's a chance for Ball State football to go 3-0 in rivalry games this year. So this is another big game. All games are big, of course, but it's another chance for Ball State to go out, win 3 in a row to finish up the regular season.
Yeah, and our guys know that, and it was a message that Coach New delivered post-game to the team, and I think there's some excitement that our team has about this upcoming game, certainly the season finale for us, but it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen, and I think our guys are playing well right now. So there's some momentum on our side going into this game, and the kickoff at noon is a byproduct of us playing on national television. CBS Sports Network will air that game, and so it's a great opportunity to showcase Ball State on national TV.
Jeff Mitchell, Director of Athletics, joining us here on episode 13 of This Week in Ball State Sports. Jeff, with it being the week of Thanksgiving, what are your plans outside of watching a lot of Ball State sports on Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday?
Well, that's the most exciting part to me, is that we can stay at home and watch a lot of Ball State sports. I've got the good fortune that my family will be in town. So my wife's parents will be in town, and then my parents will be in town along with my sister. And we're going to have a festive time, not only at the house, but also at Ball State sporting events. So for me, it can't get any better.
Where's the family coming from?
So my parents are coming from Madison, Mississippi, which is just north of the capital city of Jackson. My parents are coming from the great town of Magnolia, Mississippi, which is delightful as it sounds. That is in the southwest part of the state, north of New Orleans, on Interstate 55. It's about a 100-mile drive from New Orleans. And then my sister's coming from Louisville, Kentucky.
Awesome. Okay, that's a full week. That's a good week.
It's a great week. Great week.
So what are you most grateful for, Jeff? 'Tis the season.
I'm most grateful for my family, and I realize that's an easy thing to say, especially after just talking about them. But my wife April, and kids Harper and Carson, the transition sometimes can be difficult. And as we are now celebrating our first Thanksgiving in Indiana, recognizing that there was a lot of change in our family moving from Mississippi to Muncie, and it was done in a way where I came first, right? I came early in March, and then the family moved in early June. But we feel settled now, and are just loving life in Indiana and in Muncie and at Ball State. So most grateful for them this Thanksgiving season, and appreciate who they are and how they have not only supported me but also begun to thrive in their own lives, whether that be in their academic and athletic pursuits for the kids, and then professionally for April and all the things that she does. So we're loving it.
Jeff, before we let you go, is there anything else you want Ball State sports fans to know?
Well, I think as we approach the winter season, is just let's celebrate and get excited about our winter sports teams, so the swimming and diving and men's and women's basketball. And I think we'll start learning more about what our plans are for some facilities projects as we get into the new year, one of which is the Sport Performance Center. And we'll talk more about that maybe in a detailed conversation, Mick. But we do want to create this place for power and speed training for our student athletes to become better versions of themselves. And we're talking about a brand new facility, and there'll be a lot that goes into that. And so we'll tease that a little bit as we look to a future conversation. The other thing is I would encourage our fans to, if they see members of our athletics community, whether it's a coaching staff member, a member of our administrative team, and you know the 100+ staff that we have, to give them a fist bump of encouragement, because this time of the year, as things are winding down for the fall, and as we ramp things up for the winter and look ahead to the spring, as it coincides with the holidays too, is I worry sometimes about our staff. They all work so hard, and they work long hours, and they're doing it all because they're passionate about what they do, but it takes a toll on them too, and I can see it a little bit, in talking to them, that they're tired, and so they need this holiday season to become rejuvenated. But an extra dose of encouragement, from the community goes a long way. So if you see them, say, hey, thanks for what you do, and go Cards.
Well, Jeff, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us on This Week in Ball State Sports. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your family.
Thank you, Mick. Happy Thanksgiving. Go Cards.
They fly down the court and fly through the air.
Left to right in transition, skies, flies, and dunks.
And we fly with the Cardinals.
Steal, top of the key, nobody in front of him, two-hand thunderous slam. Pearson left corner, eyes and flies, and drops.
This is your home for Ball State Cardinals basketball.
Buzzer sound, and they hang on with a defensive stand.
The Ball State Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Cardinals fans, welcome back inside This Week of Ball State Sports. We're chatting with head coach Mike Newell of Ball State football for the last football game of the regular season. Coach, I don't know how we've got there this fast.
Game 12 seems like we just got started not too long ago, and it just always talk about it. It goes fast, and it certainly has.
Happy Thanksgiving, too, by the way, Coach.
I appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving to you. And it's hard to believe it's a normal week, but yet right in the middle of it is Thanksgiving, so we'll take time to make sure we celebrate that together as a team.
What's the plan to celebrate as a team?
Yeah, we'll have a nice dinner, a Thanksgiving dinner on Wednesday night in the alumni building here at 6 p.m. with all of our team and our staff and the families and all that stuff. So it'll just be a good Thanksgiving meal there where we're together and try to enjoy that.
How special is it to be able to do all of that still in the midst of a game week?
I think it's really nice, obviously being able to do it on Wednesday. The guys don't have class, so, that makes it easier to be able to get something like that done, because certainly when the guys have class or have study table or have academic obligations, it can make that challenging. So it's nice to be able to have that where, we can have a nice meal in the middle of the week, and dining services does a phenomenal job there. So excited about being able to get that done.
Coach New joining us here on the podcast for Ball State football. Coach, looking back at the Kent State game, 34-3 win, chance to sit down, review the tape after a few days. What jumped out to you the most?
Yeah, I think to start with, our defense delivered a dominating performance from start to finish to hold any opponent, to under 100 yards of total offense is a remarkable accomplishment. So extremely proud of those guys because, from start to finish, really it was a phenomenal effort that way, and really kind of challenged the guys at halftime. We were up at halftime, which was great, 13-3, but, really felt like we wanted to come out and really set the tone and make sure we didn't let Kent State hang around. I'm really proud of the way the offense came out second half there and really controlled the game on the ground. Guys took it personal up front on the offensive line, wanted to make sure that we tried to impose our will that way and really just trying to string good plays together. And the first 3 drives there of the second half, we only had 4 in total in the second half, but the first 3 led to touchdowns. And then to get the ball back there with 5.5 minutes and really just to be able to close out the game in victory formation, great job by those guys. So really just proud of the overall team effort. And there was a lot of great things that took place in terms of special teams as well, and almost came up with a great onside attempt there in the game, and Jack delivered a great kick there and almost had an opportunity. But really a good day by our guys, and great to be able to get a win at home like that.
You mentioned the onside kick attempt, Coach. What was the thought process of pulling that out of the hat at that time of the game?
Yeah, Coach Conley and Morgan Hagee obviously worked tirelessly through the week to develop the special teams game plan, and all week long in practice, we had repped that every single day, and really it felt great about it going into it. And as long as the look was consistent and the first kickoff that took place of the day, you were able to see, okay, it's there. And then Coach Conley just came up to me. I tell all of our guys on staff, no matter what phase it is, if you feel like you feel great about something that we've worked on, whether it's a fake, whether it's something we've worked on, I got your back. Just obviously make sure and bring it up throughout the course of the game. So Corey came to me and I said, heck yeah, man, I'm ready. It was unfortunate because it was a great kick there, but then the defense came right back out and held them to 3 and out right after that. So it was certainly great to see the defense, have our back in that situation.
Coach, earlier you mentioned the offensive line and the defensive line for Ball State taking it personal and dominating in the trenches. When you say taking it personal, what do you mean by that?
The offense and defensive linemen never get enough credit. You hardly ever hear your name mentioned, good or bad, and it's just one of those deals. You're expected to do your job. So, I think anytime you come out and anytime you start a game, you want to establish a physicality, you want to establish the tone and how the game is going to be played in the trenches. And so when I say making it personal, our guys, we got a lot of experience on the defensive line, a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. Even so, that's the same way on the offensive line. We've got guys that have played quite a bit of football. I think the guys, they want the game to be put on their back. And so when I say taking it personal, those guys were ready for that challenge, and they took it to heart, and they wanted to make sure they came out and did their job. And certainly it all starts in the trenches, and those guys delivered all day long on Saturday.
Head coach Mike Neu joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports Thanksgiving edition of the podcast this week. Coach, you talk about the entire effort, all 3 phases of the game working against Kent State. Moving over to the offensive side, Cooper, a second half to remember coming out of the gates. We'll get to him in just a second, but the offense as a whole had 3 straight drives, 75-plus yards, efficiency clicking on all cylinders. What worked on those 3 drives right out of the halftime break?
Well, I think we wanted to come out. We talked about it at halftime in there. We wanted to come out and we wanted to set the tone with the first drive, taking it down the field, putting a drive together, scoring a touchdown. Obviously, a big chunk of that was on the ground. We feel great about where we're at with our running game right now. Whether it's a designed run with the running backs or whether it's a designed run with Kyle and a QB run or a zone read, whatever it may be. I think we've spent a lot of time since we've kind of made that identity switch going into the Toledo week. We spent a lot of time on that. So just coming out and putting 3 drives like that, Kent State was ahead on time of possession at halftime. So we came out in the second half there, and I think in the third quarter we had the ball for over 9 minutes. In the fourth quarter we had the ball for over 12. So when you can have 22 minutes to 8 there in terms of time of possession in the second half, that means the guys up front were doing their job. And so they took a lot of pride in that. Obviously the one play at a time approach, guys did a phenomenal job of taking care of the football, wrapping the ball up, cuffing the ball in traffic. Coop was great with that. Kyle was great with that. Vaughn was great with that when he had his opportunity. So it was just great to see the guys. We took care of the ball. That's obviously number one on the list all the time. You can't put the ball on the ground. You got to win the turnover margin. And, our guys did a great job of running hard all day, and the guys were opening up some great holes up front.
You mentioned Vaughn as a running back, peeled off a 45-yard carry and then scored a touchdown for the first time this year in and of his Ball State career. How special was it for him to get out there through everything he's been through this year and put up a game like that?
I think more than anything what you just mentioned there, for him to get hurt in that first game of the year against Kentucky, that injury and that recovery from the injury took quite a bit of time. And even when he did return to the practice field, he was grinding. You could still see he wasn't quite full speed yet and full strength. And I'm not sure he'll be full strength at all the entirety of the year, but it just speaks to how tough he is, speaks to how much he wants to be out there with his teammates. He works extremely hard, on the field, off the field, in the weight room, all those things. So it was great to be able to see him bust off that 45-yard run and then to be able to finish with his first career touchdown. So all the guys were happy for him, and it's good to see his hard work pay off and for him to be back out there in action with us.
We've mentioned Coop a couple of times here on This Week in Ball State Sports, Coach, but it seems like since the last 4 or 5 weeks, he's really started to attack in a different way, and he's really starting to just bulldoze defenses. How have you noticed him staying patient with it, sticking with it, and then just catapulting this year?
It all starts on the practice field, and Coop has done a great job of just continuing to get better as the season has gone on, of putting in the week of work on the practice field the way that it's supposed to look. When you do that on the practice field and you bust your butt, then it'll carry over to the game. And I think what you're seeing, and especially down the stretch in the second half the other day, he was running hard, man. You could see that, as we were wearing him down there up in the second half, and we were wearing him out down up front, he was getting stronger as the game went on, and he was, some of those runs where, he was making it tough to bring him down in the open field after a long run, and, he did a great job of taking care of the football as well, really doing a great job of cuffing the ball in traffic, and I think he's just, trusting the work process, trusting the week of preparation, and making sure that he's putting it in on the practice field, knowing that, that's ultimately what's going to be the case on game day, and that's who you are. What you put on the practice field is what's going to show up on game day.
Head Coach Mike Neu joining us on This Week in Ball State Sports. Coach, let's take a look at that last game of the regular season against Miami coming to town. Noon kickoff on a Saturday to wrap up the regular season. It's a team that's 9-2 up to this point. They've clinched the East. They're headed to Detroit. What challenges do they pose? Yeah,
obviously we know them. They know us. It's the Redbird rivalry. They're coming to our place. Obviously, I give them a lot of credit. They've had a phenomenal year. They've already punched their ticket to the MAC championship game against Toledo, but this is for all the marbles. Obviously, for us, it's our final guaranteed game. I expect that football team to come in here, even though they've clinched, and even though I expect them to come in here with all hands on deck. And it is going to be a physical football game. You look at them and you look at what they've done this year defensively. They're number one in our conference in several defensive categories. Playing high-level defense in a lot of ways reminds me of our defensive football team here and how we're playing. Obviously, 3 weeks ago in the Toledo game, Brett Gabbert went down with injury. You just look, their offense has shifted now. We know Avion Smith. We played against him last year, but obviously their offense has shifted now a little bit. They were throwing the ball about 25 times a game with Brett Gabbert in there, and really a very explosive offense. And really the last 3 weeks now they've thrown it about 15 times a game, and they've really done a lot of great work in terms of the running game. So it's going to be a team, and in saying that, Avion Smith's coming off his best game last week against Buffalo, where they generated some explosive plays in the passing game, and certainly you could see his confidence level increasing that way. So it's going to be a battle, and their special teams units too. They're number one in the conference in several areas, special teams wise. Graham Nicholson is a tremendous kicker. He's perfect in our conference this year, 16 out of 16. I think 22 out of 22 on the year. Hammering the ball on kickoffs. He's 44 touchbacks on the year out of 60 kicks. Pretty solid, but their cover units are very good, very well coached up. So this is a good football team that's earned where they're at right now, being a MAC, playing for the MAC championship. They've earned that, but it's going to be a battle. We're obviously anxious to have a great week of preparation here, and these two, we know each other, and we know we're going to get their best shot, and we got to have a great week of preparation here.
I think the best thing you said was right off the top. We know them, they know us. It's a Redbird rivalry. That's it. That's all that matters, right?
It really is. We can talk about their personnel all day long when I go downstairs tomorrow and talk about Miami to our football team, but they know their personnel. They know our personnel. Play them every year. Obviously, last game of the year, and obviously, again, it's up to us. We got to make sure we have a great week of preparation here. They've got 11 games out there on tape we got 11 games out there on tape. We know them, they know us, and really it all starts and ends with that.
Coach, before we let you go, Thanksgiving being this week, what are you most thankful for?
My family. I grew up in such a wonderful family. Family was instilled in my life at such an early age, being the youngest of 8 kids, and now my wife and I, Charmin and I, and our 3 kids, and just so thankful for where they're at in their respective lives, our kids, and just so thankful for everything I'm fortunate enough to be involved in with my family, and every day that I have an opportunity to be the head coach here at Ball State, very thankful for that. And I look at all these young men in our locker room, and it's no different than they're just like my kids, and obviously trying to do our best every day to pour into them and help make a difference in their life.
Coach, we appreciate you. Thank you for all the time that you give us each and every week. We're all grateful for you. Good luck this week.
Thanks, Mick. Appreciate you, buddy.
Sometimes it's not the moment. It's the moment before the moment. The moment you make a choice. The moment you take control. The moment only you can own. Gainbridge lets you invest on your terms. So you're not only in charge of this moment, but all the moments to come. Start investing now at Gainbridge.io.
Welcome back inside this week of Ball State Sports, chatting with head coach Brady Salley of Ball State women's basketball. Just come off of a couple of wins against top 25 mid-major teams. Big one Saturday, a couple of 11 a.m. tips. Coach, we're ready for all types of women's basketball scheduling-wise. But first and foremost, appreciate you hopping on the podcast.
Yeah, always good to get on here, especially great Thanksgiving week and talk a little hoops.
Let's talk about Thanksgiving, Coach. It's one of your favorite times of year. I know that. You have basketball, we have food, we have fun. This is your territory.
So Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday. Not too many people probably pick Thanksgiving that way, but there's something to be said, I think, about a time of year where you're not worried about presents, you're not worried about what you're getting or what you're given, and it really is just about circling the table with family and enjoying some great food. And clearly, I'm a fan of great food. But so many times in this profession, your family is extended a little bit. It's your basketball family that you're on the road with. We happen to be home this week, and so it's going to look a little bit different for us. But it's also kind of the official kickoff of, like, it's really basketball time. All the tournaments are on all day long. People are all over the country, including the Bahamas, and it's just hoops all day, it seems like, and it's just a fun time of year, and we just so happen to be playing a couple in-state opponents this week that should make it fun nonetheless.
Yeah, you talk about those in-state opponents, Coach. IUPUI on the road Wednesday, and then host Notre Dame, top 25 program in the country ranked right now. That is a special week for Thanksgiving to have those two matchups and for Notre Dame to be coming to Worthen.
Yeah, again, a lot of respect for Coach Ivey for playing us home and home. Those are getting harder and harder to schedule. And so hopefully our community appreciates that and they show out. Going to be a big day on Friday. The men playing before us at 2 o'clock and of course, highlighted by, I think right now, 16th in the country, Notre Dame coming in here. And it makes for an exciting time, but we got to take care of business on Wednesday before we start worrying about Friday.
Right, Wednesday it is, IUPUI. Let's preview that matchup real fast, Coach. When you turn on the tape and you look at that team, what do you see?
Really well coached. Coach Bruce is putting her stamp on that program after a coaching change a couple years ago, and it's a whole new group. A lot of transfers, a lot of incoming kids. And they play really aggressive, really tough, really hard. And they've got some kids that if you don't guard them can go nuts. Katie Davidson is a kid who started her career at Miami of Ohio, is from Indianapolis and transferred back to IUPUI. And I think she's already gone for a 30-piece this year. So she can really fill it up. Young lady that started at Wabash Valley, came to our place, transferred back to IUPUI. Jasmine Turner's there, probably their most talented player. they've got some good pieces, and that's always a tough place to play. It's a little bit of a small high school gym, especially when you think about some of the gyms in this state. It's a different environment, but a good one, and always a hard place to play.
When you talk about the environment there, what makes it a tough environment outside of it being a little bit smaller? What about just the feel of it?
Yeah, it's the locker rooms in the basement. It's connected to the pool. Half the time, half the swim team is walking through your locker room, even though it's supposed to be closed. You're walking, up and down the stairs next to Jimmy, Joe, and Schmo that are, either coming or going to class, and it's just it's not much of what we're used to in terms of playing at other Division I places, but it is what it is. And once you get in the gym, it's a high school type of facility, and they're used to it. Probably the teams that play there aren't, but it's a great test, and part of what makes it a great test is who you're playing. And IUPUI has been good for the last few years, and it looks like they continue to be so.
Head coach Brady Salley joining us here on the Ball State Weekly Podcast, episode 13. Coach, 4 games into the season, a couple of home games, played on the road. How would you assess where your group's at right now?
No, it's a good start. You look at, you start the year against the preseason pick to win the OVC, and you follow it up on the road and go play the team picked second in the Sun Belt. You have a quick turnaround. You travel up to Chicago State, and Chicago State's not picked to do much this year, but you had to handle that, and then you come back to the preseason favorite in the Missouri Valley. It was daunting going into it, and I like the way we've responded, the way we've played. I think we've shown an ability to get after some teams, turn them over, and use our defense to turn into offense. And probably the story of this first 4 games has been our ability to just flat out make shots. We're shooting a good percentage. As a coach, it worries me a little bit because you're going to run into some nights where you don't, and your defense has to be good enough to carry you in those moments. And I think we're still developing that identity a little bit, and there's got to be more substance to who we are defensively than just a team that's going to turn you over. You can't rely on that because, again, you're going to run into teams that have really good guard play that aren't going to turn it over. What can we do in the half court to get stops? And, part of that is going to be finishing plays with rebounding, and that's something we've got to get better at. But I tell the team this all the time. It's great to learn lessons early while you're winning. There's a lot of teams out there having to learn some tough lessons after losses. But you've got to be mature enough and open-minded enough to not fall in love with winning so much as understanding the process it goes to build a basketball team so that you can go win a conference and hopefully get to the NCAA tournament. And that's the tough part right now is we've had a great start, and I've got to go in there and at times I've got to burst bubbles. I've got to say, listen, this, it's not about all this. We've got to do this better. You've got to have a mature team that'll listen to that and really work on it and want to get better, even though we're 4-0. But it's a heck of a start against really good teams, really well-coached teams, and we're in a good position to continue to get better and do something special this year.
Head coach Brady Salley joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports, episode 13. Cardinals on the women's basketball side on the road at IUPUI Wednesday, then at home against number 16 Notre Dame Friday, 5 o'clock. You can check out ballstatesports.com for your tickets. Call 888-BSU-TICKET as well. Coach, when we talk about some of the things that you're keying in on, looking at to improve the team, even through the first 4 games of the season, where do you think the team has made the most progress up to this point?
Yeah, I think we're defending and we're disruptive. I think that's one thing. Teams are having a hard time, I believe, running what they want to run and playing in their comfort zone. We're at times speeding teams up. We're at times making them play on their heels, and I think that's been a benefit against a really good Northern Iowa team who, we didn't turn over 30 times. We turned them over enough, but we had 10 more shot attempts. than they did. And so the culmination of 40 minutes of the type of pressure that we've been putting on sometimes looks that way. It's not always steal and go lay it up like it has been against maybe a Tennessee Tech, against Troy. We did a good job that way. So I think the understanding of how we're doing that, the team is doing a really, really good job with so far. And so, that along with making shots at a very high rate has been our strength. I like that we're putting more pressure on the rim offensively than maybe we did last year. And even though we're not shooting as many threes, we're still making the same amount. So the efficiency on that end has been pretty good. If we could limit the turnovers by about 1 or 2 a game, I think that part of it would be clicking on a lot of the cylinders you'd want them to early on in the season especially.
Favorite Thanksgiving food?
Oh, man, it's I'm thinking of the plate full of it right now. I'm a huge stuffing guy, but the turkey with the gravy combined with the stuffing. I mean, and then
you're a combo guy. You mix it, mix and match.
There's no doubt. But listen, you could empty the whole plate, right, and you could have nothing in the kitchen except for sweet potatoes, and I would be happy as a lark with those sweet potato casserole, so okay. It's got all the sugar and the marshmallows. It's got all the stuff that takes it from something that's good for you and turns it into something that you can just smile about. So, that's probably the one that I would live and die with is sweet potatoes.
What are you most grateful for, Coach?
I'm blessed to work at a place and live in a place right now that has become family, has become home. Not too much in this profession do your kids get to grow up and really have an identity of where they're from and where home is. We're fortunate enough to have found a place in Ball State and the Muncie community where all 3 of my children understand this is home. And so my wife and I are just blessed beyond belief that we get to work and live in a community that has embraced our family, and it really, truly is home. So that I feel so blessed about. But, everybody's healthy. Everybody's doing good. I get to coach a great group of young ladies that they're bought in, and I get to do it in a place where women's basketball is important. So to pinch myself and say that I'm blessed would be an understatement. But this time of the year, you start thinking about stuff like that, and truly, truly, truly thankful.
Well, Coach, I can speak for a lot of people. We're thankful for you being Ball State women's basketball's head coach and what you've done for not only the university but the community as a whole. So thank you. We're grateful for you. That's head coach Brady Salley joining us on This Week in Ball State Sports. Coming up, we'll have Nick Traub break down Ball State football.
They fly down the court and fly through the air.
Left to right in transition, skies, flies, and dunks.
And we fly with the Cardinals.
Steele, top of the key, nobody in front of him, two-hand thunderous slam. Pearson, left corner, eyes and flies, and drops.
This is your home for Ball State Cardinals basketball.
Buzzer sound, and they hang on with a defensive stand.
The Ball State Sports Network from Learfield.
Ball State football with another big win against Kent State in the second to last week of college football. And we're pleased to be joined by Ball State football radio analyst Nick Traub on This Week in Ball State Sports. Nick, thanks for joining us. We just have one more week to preview Ball State football.
Hey, happy to be here, Mick. And Ball State Cardinals are rolling right now, so it's a good time to be a Ball State Cardinal.
Cardinals took care of business 34-3 against Kent State on Saturday at Schumann Stadium. It was wire to wire, Nick. Able to score early, had a lead at halftime, and then the second half really put everything they had on the table in the run game with Cooper and Kelly. Overall, what was your assessment from that game?
I mean, really good from a standpoint of it took 4 quarters. I thought there was never a letdown in the football game. And when they came out at halftime, there was just laser focus. And you get the 3 first offensive drives on offense, and they score a touchdown on each of those. And then to cap it off, the defense holds Kent State to under 100 yards of total offense. That's impressive. I mean, that's extremely hard to do regardless of the opponent. Sidney Houston had a career day. I mean, 2.5 sacks, 4.5 tackles for loss, 6 tackles. Tip of the cap to him. You know, he's headed in the right direction for an all-conference player, the way he's played this year, and especially the last 4 games. I mean, he's just been unblockable in a sense. The defense holds Kent State to 1 of 12 on third down. Offense rushes for 300 yards. So, I mean, like, you just look at it from a whole perspective. Everybody did their thing. Everybody got their opportunity, and they made the most of it. And it was just an overall dominating performance on Saturday, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, Sidney Houston has just continued to rack up the numbers. You mentioned 4.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. How have you seen him improve throughout the season?
I mean, there was just one play you see it. There was one play on Saturday. He just demolished the right tackle. Like, just hit him with a punch, ripped underneath, tackle didn't stand a chance. His physicality and his technique have just looked incredible the last 4 games. He's got a motor to him that it's just like he wants to get to the quarterback, and he's getting to the quarterback. So it's an attitude thing for him. And you're just seeing the work that he's put in over time. It's starting to show on Saturdays.
Nick, there were 3 drives to begin the second half for Ball State's offense where they went 75-plus yards, scored touchdowns on all those drives. That seemed to be one of the big keys of the second half to really put Kent State away.
Yeah, the focus. I mean, look, the passing wasn't great on Saturday. We were 4 of 14, I think, from a number standpoint. But we ran the ball with great efficiency. You could see the offensive line just assert their will in the second half. Guys were getting to the second level. You know, in the first half, we're seeing on first down, it's, 2-yard gain, 3-yard gain. It was a lot of 2nd and 8s, 2nd and 7s. And in the second half, I mean, we're rolling out chunk yards on first down, 14-yard gain, 15-yard gain here and there. So, like, you just saw the offensive line over time just wear them down, assert their will, getting hands on guys, creating running lanes for Cooper and Kelly. And when you get those 2 dudes in space, nobody's tackling them. They take it the distance. And you saw that just compile in the second half. It was really fun to see as well from that standpoint of just, hey, we're going to continue to wear you down and take you on for 4 quarters of football.
Well, Cooper just put up his 3rd game of 100 yards on the ground in a Ball State uniform, and he has eclipsed the 800-yard mark in a Cardinals uniform in his first season. So closing in on his 3rd straight 1,000-yard campaign, he's got to have over 100 yards in the final game against Miami of Ohio. Let's go ahead and talk about Miami because they've been a very stout team throughout the entire season, Nick. When you look at what they've done, 10 wins already this season. They put together a really strong campaign, and they've already clinched their spot in the MAC title game in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're well coached. Coach Chuck Martin's one of the longest tenured coaches in our conference. He's always got them bowl eligible. This is a team that they, Blaine Gabbert was one of the conference's best quarterbacks. He goes down for the year. They turn the keys over to Avion Smith, and they haven't missed a beat. Their 2 losses are the opener to Miami of Florida on the road. They beat Cincinnati on the road, and then their other losses to Toledo, that was by 4. They'll see Toledo in the MAC championship game for a rematch, and that game was spectacular to watch. But the biggest thing with Miami, Mick, is they've got playmakers all across the field. Just starting on offense, you look at Rashad Amos. He's their go-to running back. You see him a lot in the red zone. He's got 9 touchdowns this year, 784 yards on the ground. And when they want to air it out, their big play guy, Gage Larvadane, 625 yards, 6 touchdowns, 17.5 yards a catch. So that's a big play guy. They're going to hit him over the middle, let him get in space. And just to round out the football team, the biggest thing I think with Miami is their defense is really good. We've been saying this name, I feel like, for 7 years, Matt Salapak.
Yeah.
112 tackles, 3 sacks, and interception. He is always around the football. Dude constantly makes plays. He's been an all-conference guy in the past. And then you look up front for them. I don't know where this stands statistically, but they have Caden Wooler, 9 sacks. Ty Wise, 7 sacks. Brian Ugwa, 6.5 sacks. This team gets after the quarterback, and they bring a lot of pressure, and they get home and bring the quarterback down. So that is the biggest thing. Up front, we're going to have to protect. I expect them to come out in something similar to Kent State and try to load the box up and force us to throw the football. Kent State tried to do it. They just didn't have the dudes. Miami has the dudes. So it'll be interesting to see what we come out from a schematical standpoint, how we're going to get to the second level, how we're going to run the football effectively, because this team has athletes on defense. They want to bring pressure on third down. They get home a lot. And even look from a special team standpoint, their field goal kicker hasn't missed this year. He's 22 of 22 with a long of 52. So this is an overall well-rounded football team. They get it done on all three phases. But like we talked about a little bit on the old broadcast as well, is, they've already clinched. So what are they going to do? Are they going to rest guys? Are they going to play guys a half? Are they going to play guys all 4 quarters? We don't know. It doesn't matter really to us. We have to go out and execute, because this is a really good football team, and we'll have our hands full Saturday.
Nick, you're right. Matt Salopek has been around for a few years, but what he's done from a solo tackle standpoint as well, 62 solo tackles. That's more than most players have combined tackles, assist, and solo. So he is able to track down players and also help finish a play. So Ball State has to be prepared for that.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys you have to get hands on him, because if you don't, he's always around the football, and he gets there in a hurry.
Hey, Nick, it's always a pleasure having you on This Week in Ball State Sports. We'll see you Saturday for the finale against Miami for Ball State football.
Sounds good, Mick. Looking forward to it.
That wraps up This Week in Ball State Sports. The Cardinals in action on the hardwood on the football field all week long. Check out ballstatesports.com for all of your ticket needs, and call 888-BSU-TICKET. This has been a presentation of GameBridge, powered by Learfield. Chirp, chirp, and go Cards.
Thanks for listening to This Week in Ball State Sports, presented by GameBridge. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the GameBridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network.